To our fellow cleaning professionals, we know our industry does not get a lot of respect. We're so glad you're here. We make this free content for you. We understand the challenges of the industry. If you've gotten value out of this, please subscribe. And for those business owners you know, team members you know, share this podcast with them. We're so grateful. And let's get back to the doc.
Joe, we're back, and we're talking about defining and recording job specs.
What?
Yeah, I know. People love paperwork. But as a dear friend of mine, Tim, says, documentation beats conversation every day of the week. What would you tell the cleaning company business owner about this who's saying, it just says, clean the space?
Isn't that how every cleaning company starts out? Clean your space once a week.
What's my space? What does cleaning mean?
My space, isn't that an old software application? Oh, sorry.
How old are we?
We're ancient. Cave paintings. Anyway, scope of work. In most small companies, like when I first started out, I just was tickled pink somebody was willing to hire me.
Yeah.
I'll clean your space once a month.
Thank God you signed off.
Woohoo! What did I sign off on? Oh, we're going to clean you. Guess what?
What does that mean?
Clean, ask 100 people what beautiful is to them, and you're going to get 97 different answers. Yeah. You're going to get my wife, my husband, my child, my dog, my cat, a sunset, a sunrise, a dewy morning. So clean is subjective like that.
Yeah.
So when you write contracts, I don't care if you're just starting out and it's your first job, you need to have something that holds you accountable for what are you doing, as well as you're holding the client accountable for what their expectations are.
So there's a level of expectations really spelled out in that job spec, and it protects both the client and the cleaning company.
Yes. As I tell a lot of my clients, one, it's kind of like a living document, or it's a guideline or some directions.
Now, do you use those words when you're talking to them?
Yes.
A living document?
A living document, because things change. Companies grow, they shrink, COVID happens, so things change constantly. And if you've been in business for a while, and let's say you've been in business 3 years, is your business the same it was 3 years ago?
I can't imagine.
No, your business changes, and so do your clients' needs. They change. So by having a living document and using the scope of work more as guidelines, a recent contract that got signed by my cleaning company, the original scope of work that they gave me to bid on said, we want our hand towels changed out once a week. I changed that scope to say daily. Oh, we don't want to pay for daily. We don't want to pay for daily. It only needs to be replaced once a week.
Okay, so your team's in there every 5 days a week.
5 days a week.
Okay.
And I told them, so if my staff says they checked that on Monday and you run out of towels on Thursday, whose fault is that? My people checked it on Monday. It was full on Monday.
So what was his response?
He goes, well, why wouldn't they check it every day? There's your daily.
Right.
It has to be checked. If it needs to be filled, and it may average once a week, so whether it's Monday or Thursday or Wednesday, whatever day of the week that dispenser needs to have more product filled, then that product gets filled.
Okay, but so that becomes part of the job spec, and adding new paper towels into dispensers fairly quick.
Right, but you're just checking them. That's even quicker.
Yeah.
And then when you see that it needs to be filled, you're really only still filling it once a week. But when you limit yourself to saying once a week, you're going to get in this hole, as they say, he said, she said, well, we checked it on Monday. It's Thursday or Friday now.
Okay, so you've got a good customer. You said check daily. They've agreed. That's a relatively low-level task. But you have other services that are far more involved.
Definitely. So, again, another client had an in-house operation. They had a person that worked, part of their shift was during the day when everybody was there, and part of their shift was after everybody was gone. So they were always around to take care of daily problems. So when we put the initial scope of work together, they said, well, areas have to be auto-scrubbed once a week. That's no problem. We specified these are the days of the week that each of the different areas got done. A couple weeks into the contract, somebody from their production area said, hey, it doesn't look like these floors got done. And it was a Friday. And it was like, oh, those areas are auto-scrubbed on Mondays. Yeah, well, can't wait. I told the client those areas get done on Tuesday, and it's now Friday. So that's about right. If you have all this extra traffic, about every 3 days, we need to be auto-scrubbing the floor.
Sure.
So we can change that scope of work. It's like a 10,000 square foot area, so there's going to be a slight upcharge to do it a second time. And we can do them on Tuesdays and Fridays so we can can appease the production area so that it looks fresh and it doesn't have a problem on it, because obviously once a week isn't enough. Well, the client was like, we're kind of at the upper end of one.
Okay.
And it's all right. Well, what are we doing that seems like overkill? What can we subtract out that equals about this much
So
time?
you're working within their budget to get them an additional service or an alternate service and trade something out when
Correct.
you need to do that.
Correct. So everything's give and take, and that's why these documents should be seen as a living scope of work, but also because it is a scope of work and it is spelled out, it says what days of the week something's to be done or how often you're going to do an office. That helps everybody keep each other's feet to the fire, so to say. So they can come to me and say, hey, these areas get done on Tuesday, they weren't done. I have no excuse. If it said Tuesday and they're calling me Wednesday morning and the Tuesday areas, like, find out why. And we talked in another podcast about, the whole LEAF concept. You need to follow LEAF at that point. But what if it's an area that needs to be done more often? You don't want them to get upset and get frustrated because now an area has too much trash or too much traffic. Maybe they're hiring more people and it becomes more densely populated. So it's constantly living. On the other hand, they might be shrinking. And a lot of that happened during COVID. Companies that were out working realized that some of the tasks could be done virtual. So I had some of my largest companies that I was cleaning 5 days a week and in 50,000 square feet of space come back to 3,000 square feet of space and only need cleaning twice a week because it was only the essential, the owner and a few other key people that needed to be in office more than once a week.
Okay, so in bringing this episode into landing, one of the things that I do want to talk to the owner who's listening, part of getting this to work is couching your response well. Folks, Joel is a master at this. I've actually watched him do this. He's way better at this than I am. First of all, not being a jerk, but being firm, delivering it in a business matter-of-fact manner, and holding the line. Also, knowing when to break your own rules. That does take some finesse, it does take some understanding, and it takes a really good coach. Thank you, Joel.
You're welcome. Thank you.